Hello everyone, myself Professor Rekha C, Soundarya Institute of Management and Science, HOD, Department of Computer Science. This lecture series is all about the various concepts of Unix shell programming as prescribed syllabus from Bangalore University for 4th semester BCA. Hence, let's start understanding the 10 concepts of Unix shell programming through this lecture series.
Right. So this is a PPT. So in your today's class, you will be understanding about the control structure, which I already mentioned. And I know that most of them would have not installed your Unix shell programming environment in your phone as well as in your desktop. So I have given you a link called learnshell.org. So this is a link wherein you can work through online. You don't have to install any software. So it works in an online mode so that it will be helpful for you to understand the concept in a better way. So today I'm going to cover the topic on test command, control structure. Test command is already been taught in the class. I'm just going to give you a small revision on that, followed by the control structures, then the looping constructs and jumping control structures, as well as I'll be telling about the assignment. Guys, which I was always discussing with you that what is the weightage of this, the entire chapter is from your Bangalore University question paper. So you will be getting one question which is of 2 marks, and you will be getting a one complete question where you have 5 plus 5, where one question will be more on theory based, the other one is more on program based. Hence the total weightage of this particular chapter is 12 marks. Moving on to the next slide. So as I was telling, the test command, that is, it's a command where you are going to test the condition of a variable, where you will be using test as a keyword. So for example, the syntax is, if you are going to test any condition, you will be using a if structure, if, test and a condition. If the condition is satisfied, then the command is executed. For example, if I'm going to test a variable number, if the number is greater than 0, then I'm going to print, that is through an echo command, that the number is positive. Alternatively, the test can also be substituted with a square bracket. For example, if condition, then commands fi, the same thing. Instead of having a keyword test, I'm using a square bracket. So example, if $num greater than 0, then it is a positive number. So this we have already discussed in the last class, and also we have executed in the system also. If you just wanted to check, I'll just show you. As I told you that we can execute in this learn environment. See, what is the command that we saw here is, if the number is greater than 0, then it is a positive number. Let's consider number is equal to 5. So according to us, if space, you have to give a space after the square bracket. If $num is greater than 0, then echo $num is, sorry, you have to give it in a double quote, echo $num is positive. Okay, and you have to end f with fi. So this is what learnshell.org. So you can directly have, so the environment is created for you. Just if you have to click and come back, scroll down, you will get this environment. And if you run, see, you can get the output here only. See, 5 is positive. So hence, you can do it. For example, if I give number as -2 and if you try to run, you don't get any output because I have not used the else option. See, there is no output. So that is with respect to the test command. Then we'll move on to the next one, which is nothing but the kind of test. So this is also I have discussed. Suppose if you want to test the numbers, so you will be using a numeric test. Okay. And if you want to use an equal to, that means you're going to tell A is equal to B. So if $A is equal to $B, then you're checking for an equality of a number. Similarly, if you are checking an unequal, if the two numbers are unequal, then we are going to say not equal to concept. And similarly, if you want to check for a greater than, then if the $A is greater than $B, less than $A is less than $B, greater than or equal to. So GE stands for greater than and equal to or equal to. Then it is if you have to use $A. I'm sorry, I think we have to give GE. I will update it. $A minus G $B and also $A minus LE $B. That is less than or equal to. So these are the operators which you are going to do a numerical test. Similarly, if you want to test two strings, for example, say let us say A is SIMS and B is BCA. So if I want to compare SIMS with BCA, so $A is equal to $B. No, $A is not equal to $B. Hence, it is unequal string. Or if I say if $A is not equal to $B, S, $A is not equal to $A because SIMS is not equal to BCA. Or if I just give an entry key with the $A, that means if you are not given any value. Suppose if I say A is equal to just a single quote. That means I don't have any characters in that. So in that case, it becomes the length of the string is Z. That is a null. So if you want to check the character, that is a string is a null, then we are going to use this. Suppose if I have say A is equal to, let us say SIMS itself. So if A is equal to say, and if I want to know the length of a string or if I want to check that whether A has some value, then I will use minus n. So minus n will give, that is the number of characters in that string is 4, hence it is not a null string. Or just if you want to check whether it is really a null string, you can just give $A without specifying minus z, then it will give whether string is null or not. So this is where you can test your strings in a using a conditional operator, that is equal to, not equal to, minus z, minus n, and just a string. So the next okay, and the next set of test is file test, where you have minus s file. So this true, that means if you want to check whether the size of the file is greater than 0. For example, I have a file called test.sh, when I would have written all the register number of the students. In that case, I will be having how many records? 57 records. So in that case, file is not empty. That is the size of the file has 57 records. Or if I create a file which I wanted to manage only for a BCA department. So in that case, I have a block of a file wherein it is especially designed to maintain only a BCA records. So in that case, I will be using that minus B. So minus B will check whether it is a block file. Or suppose if I have a password file where I don't want to share the information to any people. So in that case, it becomes my special file. So I want to check whether my directory has a special file or not. So in that case, I will be using it as a password file. Okay. So similarly, minus F. So minus F stands for whether it is an ordinary file. That means a normal file what you write it. So if that is the case, then I will be using minus F. Similarly, we have minus R. So you know that whenever I create a file, by default, you will have 3 owners. One is the owner of the file. The other one is the group of a file. The other one is the individual file. Okay. So if all the 3 categories has read permission or a write permission or an execute permission. If I want to check whether you have a read permission, then I will use minus R. If I want to check whether the file has a write permission, then I use minus W. Similarly, if I want to check whether my file has an execute permission, then I will check minus X. So this will be like this. For example, if I have a file with read, write, and execute, then I can use this kind of read, write, and execute permission. And also I have something called as minus U. So when I say minus U, for example, for each user, you will be having a ID, user ID. See, as and when you log in, the server or a kernel will create a particular ID for your login. So that we call it as a user ID. So if I want to know my user ID has been set or is it a blank, then I can use it -u. Similarly, suppose say I have two batches of your class. So I have batch 1 and batch 2. Now I have created user ID from BCA01 to BCA30. So that means BCA01 is user ID. This BCA01 to BCA30, it comes under which group? Batch 1 group. Suppose if I want to know whether the batch 1 exists, then I make use of -g. So -g is a batch 1, -u is BCA01, BCA02. So just to understand whether the user is active or whether user can log in, so we make use of these options. So these are with respect to your test command. So test command has, as I repeat, as a three kinds of testing. One is testing towards the numeric, one with the string, and the other one with the file. Now next we'll move on to something called as conditional statements. What are conditional statements? Suppose if you want your output based on a particular condition, then we call it as a conditional statement. Hope you know all these things in your C programming, that is in the first and second semester, where we were using all these if condition. Example is, if A is greater than B, then A is big, else B is big. So that means we are going to test the value of A and B based on a condition. We already used that kind of condition in a test command. So we are going in detail with these commands. So let us understand that 5 different forms of conditional statement. First one is a simple condition, simple if statement. Next one is if else statement. Then this is a else if ladder, that is we are using ELIF. So ELIF stands for an else if ladder. Then this if then else, that is we can have if within a if for a many long time. So that we call it as a nested if. And later it follows by the switch statement. Now we will start with the if condition. So this is a very simple if. So this is a simple if. So this block will process, that is a simple condition. If the condition, then a statement. So this is if $A is equal to $B, then echo A is equal to B. So let me execute this. I have created one notepad where I have typed whatever I am going to teach you. I've just typed and kept it here so that it will not take much time. So I will just paste the code here so that it will be easy for you to understand. So my code is if $A is equal to $B. So I have given A as 10 and B as 10. So if I run, since A is equal to 10, so it has to give A is equal to B. Okay. So next we have if else. That means if A is equal to B, yes, it definitely gives A equal to B. Otherwise, what it has to give? So that time we make use of else statement. If the condition is true, this has to execute. If the condition is false, and then this has to execute. So let's execute that statement here. So now I'll move on to the notepad. So I'll paste the code. So that means, so if A is greater than equal to B, then A is equal, else A is not equal. So let me run this program where I have given A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 12. So definitely A is not equal to B. So this is how you can work with your if else structure. So let's move on to the else if ladder. So elif. So let us say I want to find the largest of 3 numbers. So I say if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, then A will be large, else B is large, else C is large. Just to understand, let us give A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, and 3 is equal to 30. Then in that case, 30 has to be large. So here, I just wanted to give you a small information. So here I have used minus A. Minus A is nothing but your logical operator. That means A stands for ANDing. That means both this condition as well as this condition should satisfy. That means both has to be true. If I'm saying A as big, for example, if I give A is equal to 30, B is equal to 20, and C is equal to 10. In that case, 30 is greater than 10 as well as 30 is greater than 20. In that case, A has to be large. So just to ascertain that A is larger to B as well as to C, then we are using A is large. Here it has to be C. I'll just change it. So then only we can say A is large. Okay, let's execute that program. A should be greater than C, correct? So that means A is 10, B is 20, C is 30. So in that case, here we can predict that C is bigger. So I should get C is bigger. If A is greater than B and $A greater than C, okay, here the problem is we should give a space. Else if B is greater than C, 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So the problem is with 15. Yeah. Why? Because I have only one Fi. I should give one more Fi. Okay. So error is happening here. Fine. I'll just paste this code. Let me check. Echo is large. Okay. If $A is greater than $B and $A is greater than $C, correct? Then echo $A is large. Or I can say A is large. That's enough. I don't want the value. Else, if $B is greater than $C, then echo B is large. Else, echo C is large. Okay. Then I'll say Fi. Let me run this. Syntax error, unexpected end of file. Greater than $C, then echo B is large, else echo C is large. Right. So let me cross verify with the syntax. Syntax is absolutely fine. There is no problem. Else is correct. If, then, else, else if is correct. Nested if, else if is also right. Okay. If, then, else, Fi, and one more Fi should be there here because we have if. Okay, this is then for this else is for this Fi is for this. Okay. Yes, C is large. So output, you are getting an output. So one thing that we have to remember, so how many if we use, that many Fi should be there. So this is the case we have 10, 20, 30. So this is a nested one. So 10, 20, 30 means obviously C is big. Now let me give this as 50. So in that case, I should get A as big, right? So let's work out. Yes, A is large. Now I'll give B as 80. Then I'll run the program. then I should guess B is large. Yes, B is large. So in all the three cases, so we'll be able to do it. So this is nothing but a nested if. So let's move on to the presentation. So this is all about nested if. Then we'll move on to the switch case. See, switch case, as we understood even in the last classes, wherein switch case is nothing but an alternative statement. That means based on one control variable, we can have alternative solution. For example, week number is a control variable. If I input the number as 5, then I should get Friday. If I give number as 6, then I should get Saturday. If I give number as 2, then I should get Tuesday. That means I can have set of alternative answer for one control variable. For that, we make use of case statement. This is very similar to your C switch command, wherein every case should be ended with ESAC. That means the reverse of ESAC. Okay. And also we can also have a switch case as a as a grouped one, as a meta character. For example, if I enter a character and if the character lies between small a to small z, then it has to give us an output. It is a lowercase. It means I can have any number of characters. That is, I can have only one character, but anything between a to small z, that is small a to small z. Similarly, here I can have one character, because CH, it is only a character, one character which lies between the range of capital A to capital Z. So if I give capital K, then it will give uppercase. If I give small x, then it will give lowercase. Suppose if I give 6, then it is between 0 to 9, then it will give us a value digit. If I give asterisk, then it will give you have entered more than one character. Suppose if I give percentage symbol, which is just a symbol, then it will be replaced with a meta character called question mark. Then it will give a output as a special symbol. So this is how a switch case works. Let us see a small programming example on the switch case. See, one small disadvantage of using this learner thing is we can't accept the read statement. So that is only one disadvantage. We have to give the input like this only. I can't say read num. That is the one only, that is the only disadvantage of having learning with learn shell. But rest of the things works very fine. 5, I have given 5 as Friday. So now I will change the value to 2. Then if I run, it has to give me Tuesday. So it has given me Tuesday. So like this, the case statement help us to display one output from a set of alternative outputs. So this works based on the control variable. This $num is a control variable for us. Okay. So next we'll move on to the next set, which is called as a looping statement. You know that if I want to execute the same value or the control value for more than once, we call such statement as a looping statement. There are 3 kinds of looping statement. They are while loop, until loop, and for loop. So when I consider a while loop, it is called as a pre-tested loop. That means a condition is checked before entering into the loop. So the condition should be true. So it has to be true. Then only it will execute. This is called as a while. Then next one is until loop. That means if the condition is false, then only it will get into the loop. So this is a post-tested loop. That means it is an exit control. So only when condition is false, the control variables and the statements get executed. So these kind of loop is called as a post-tested loop. This is a general question asked in your Bangalore University paper. Difference between the while and until. While is a pre-tested loop where the control variable will allow you to execute only when the condition is true. Whereas until is a post-tested loop where the control variables allow you to execute inside the loop only when the condition is false. So those loops are called as until loop. I'll show you the examples of all the 3 together. Next one is a for loop. For loop is a fixed execution loop. That means you know the starting as well as you know the ending. So suppose if you want to execute only 5 times, exactly 5 times, then we make use of for loop. So for is a fixed loop. In the for, again we have lot of variations. That is, you can use for loop with the directly with the strings. This was not happening with your C or C++. But in shell programming, you can directly give the value and start printing the value. Or you can directly deal with the files. So suppose if I'm telling the asterisk means in your directory, you may have some 100 files. Now, if you want to know which file is for which type, I think in the last, when I was telling about the test command, the third type of test command is a file testing, where you're going to test whether the file is a regular file or an ordinary file or a directory file or a read permission, write permission. So like that, if you want to test all the files in your directory, then we can use this asterisk and keep on testing each file by giving the test command like -f, -d, -r, -w, -x, which we saw in the previous slides. Okay. And also, you can also check whether you are for with the command line arguments. Suppose when you're running a program, so you'll be running like this, $sh. sh, you know, this is a command used to run your file. And if you give your file name and if you are given your arguments, let us say A, B, C, E, F, G, and element, then you will get the output like this. How? As you know that in the last chapter, we learned about the positional parameters, wherein $0 stands for your file name. What is your file name? loop8.sh. Where $1 stands for your first argument. What is your first argument? ABC. And $2 stands for your second argument. What is your second argument? EFG. Similarly, $3 for the third argument, which is element. So $ash will stand at how many arguments you have supplied? 1, 2, 3. So 3 arguments. Then $asterisk means all the values of all the arguments. What are the values of your arguments? From A, B, C, E, F, G element are the values of your arguments. So since you have given $asterisk, so it will display the values of your argument as A, B, C, E, F, G and element. Okay. And also you can use for loop like your C structure. See, all this time we are using for, I, in and so on. So like you can also use it as in this way, wherein I is equal to 1 is initial value. I is less than or equal to means you are going to check the value of I till I becomes 5, where each I gets incremented by +1. That is I plus plus means I is equal to I plus 1. Similarly, you can have a nested loop for within a for, where I, as we saw, if within a if. So similarly, we have a nesting loop for within a for, wherein you are going to display. So this is one important code where it will be asked in your examination, display this pattern. So if you want to display a pattern like this, you need to have a nested loop. And you're going to display just an asterisk, hence asterisk. Here you can observe I have given -n. Minus when n means nothing but after displaying one asterisk, if your j is not completed, that means you still have, for example, in the first asterisk, j will be 1. In the second asterisk, j will be set to 2. So if I give -n, then asterisk will be displayed next to each other. Otherwise, it will display one by one. So then it will not form your pattern. So just to avoid that, j should display next to each other till the value of I use -n. Okay. Now let us quickly see all the outputs of the for loop. Now I was talking about while loop. So I run. Okay. I will run the code. Less than or equal to 10. Okay. Now I should initialize what is I. So I is equal to 1. Then I will run. Let me type the program again. I is equal to 1 while $I is less than or equal to 10. Do echo $I. Then I is equal to expr $I plus 1. Okay, done. So I'll run the program. Now you can get the answer. So this is a while loop where you're going to display the values from 1 to 10. Now, if I want to do same thing with respect to until, see what is the condition in a while? See, I is equal to 1. So 1 is less than or equal to 10. Yes, the condition is true. Hence, it will get inside the loop. Suppose if I'm using an until is another kind of a loop wherein you have to give a reverse way. That means instead of less than or equal to, if I give greater than, so it is a reverse of what you have given in the while loop. So in that case, I has to display the value 1 to 10 because 1 is not greater than 10, hence it will display 1. Again, 2 is not greater than 10, again it will display 2. So similarly, till I is 10 is not greater than 10, again it will display 10. When I becomes 11, 11 is greater than 10, which is true, hence it will come out of the loop. So let me run the program. See. So even with the until, you can get the output from 1 to 10. Now we will try with the for loop. See, for I said it is a fixed loop, wherein for I in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means I have started from 1 and ends with 5. Now if I run, then I should be getting the value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you know the fixed set, so you'll be giving it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So another form of for, as I told you, that we can use for even for a string. For example, I have given string in Unix programming, and if I try to run, then I will be getting character by character. So UNIX, where you have a space, so hence it has come to the next line, then followed by programming. So for can also be used in string handling. Now, as I was telling, for can also be used in file handling. So when I run a program for a file handling, since this is I'm using an online editor, we don't have much program, we'll be having only one program. Let's run and check whether do we have any output. Yes, there is one output where file is a regular file. So if I want to know what is the file name, let's run again. So it is just a dummy file. So it is giving it is a regular file because we are working on a regular file. So if we run on a exact command, then you will come to know so many files because we will be having our own Unix kernel shell. But this is a dummy or a virtual, hence we'll have only one file. Right? Next, if I was talking about the pattern. Now, okay. See, now I was telling, suppose if I remove -n and if I run the program, then you will get the print 1 asterisk. When I is equal to 1, I get 1 asterisk. When I is equal to 2, I'll get 2 asterisk. When I is equal to 3, I'll get. See, but these asterisk are in a one line. Now I want the asterisk to be in a pattern that is next to each other. So that time I make use of -n. So I will get it as a pattern. So these are the various inputs that you are going to understand in this session. Now, moving on to the next part, that is, if I want to control my looping, then I have three major control statements. One is a break statement, one is a continue statement, and other one is an exit statement. Break statement, suppose say I have a for loop which starts from 1 to 10. In between, I want to break the loop. Let us say if the value of for loop A has reached the value 5, then I want to come out of the loop. So that time I'll give a condition. If the A is 5, then break the loop. Okay. So similarly, if I say when A is equal to 5, you just continue. That means where A has started from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When A is equal to 1, so it will simply print A is equal to 1, so iteration number 1. When A is equal to 2, iteration number 2, 3, 4. But when A is equal to 5, it is telling don't do anything after the loop. Just go to the beginning of the loop. That means it will not print 5, but again it will go back to the beginning of the loop where A becomes 6 and start printing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 because 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 is not equal to 5. Similarly, in the previous case, 1 is not equal to 5, hence it will print 1. 1 is equal to 2, it will print 2. 1 is equal to not equal to 3, it will print 3. 1 is not equal to 4, it will print 4. But 1 is not equal to 5, 2 is not equal to 5, 3 is not equal to 5, 4 is not equal to 5. Hence it will print 1, 2, 3, 4. But 5 is equal to 5. Yes, the condition is true. It will break the loop. That means it will come out of the for loop. Hence, it will not go back to the loop to have a count on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that means to say that when the given value is 5, so it can print only its previous value, not the next value. Whereas in continue, when the given value is equal to the specified one, it will print the values before as well as it will print the values after. So that is the difference between a break and continue. Whereas when I consider an exit statement, exit is nothing but you are going to come out entirely from your script. That we call it as exit statement. Now we'll just look into the programming examples of break and continue and exit. See, iteration number 1, 2, 3, 4. So as I mentioned, break will give you the values before the specified one. So 5 is my specified one. For example, if I give 7, then I should get between 1 to 6. Correct? So this is nothing but break. Suppose if I give continue instead of break and say, then for the 7th value, it will not run, but it will give an output before 7, that is 1 to 6, and after 7, that is 8, 9, 10. Suppose if I say A is equal to 2, and if I say exit, it will completely come out of the program. Actually, exit will not be done within the loop. It will directly done whenever you start scripting. So when I say 2, as soon as it reach 1, when it reach 2, so it will come out from the entire script. So that is exit. So that is all about exit statement. So I'll just quickly go back. So as I mentioned you, so we have learned about test commands, we learned about control structure, we learned about looping structure, and also we learned about jumping control structure. So that's the end of this chapter. So I have given you a few summary, that is a test command is used for various testing conditions. We can use a keyword test as well as we can use a square bracket. And we have 3 kinds of testing: numeric test, string test, and file test. We have 5 different forms of conditional statements. That is simple if else, nested if, else if structure, and a switch statement. We can also use testing using a logical operators, minus A for ANDing, minus O for OR and NOT. And we also have 3 looping constructs: pre-test, post-test, and incremental test. And also finally, we understood about break, continue, and exit. Now, I had given you a few questions based on your topic. So there will be a short questions based on this. So write a syntax of while statement, if else syntax. So these are the question papers from the previous past 5 to 6 years papers. I have collected the questions. Kindly go through it, and definitely we will share the answer with you, and I want you to start answering